Former Bush 43 Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove, multiple best-selling author as well. Karl, I know I always hear from the people call me never Trumper and a globalist and I'm an SOB and all this stuff, but I put great stock in trying to be a decent human being, especially with people who are like-minded to me. So when I hear the president tweeting this stuff, saying this stuff, whether it's justified or not, I don't care who started. It's like I'm separating my two teenage sons. I don't think it's helping the president. I don't think it's advancing his agenda. I don't think it's endearing him to friends of the outgoing senator. I think net, it's bad for him to do this. What do you think?
I agree. And look, Senator Corker started this with comments last Wednesday in which he said basically that Mattis, Tillerson, and Kelly were keeping the White House from falling into chaos. Not helpful. I mean, it's one thing. He went on to say these three men are providing a sound, rational explanation of our policies, which fine. But to, in essence, use them to attack the president was not helpful. And then came the president's three tweets over the weekend. What good came from that? Nothing. And then Senator Corker responded with a tweet of his own in which he called the White House an adult care center, daycare center. That wasn't helpful.
Just got worse and worse.
Nobody's
and worse,
looking good. Yeah, nobody's looking good in this. And particularly Senator Corker, after his comment last week, didn't need to respond to the president's tweets because now it calls into question anything wherever he opposes the administration. It's not going to be a question of policy or principle. People are going to attribute it to personal animus, and it probably won't be if he does oppose the president on some issue.
Now, we talked about this before because what this president has come up before, and it is part of his leadership style. I think in large part, I know you and I have discussed this, it's one big reason why he got elected. People like that, sort of very unpolitical but very in-your-face approach to things. But eventually you have to get stuff done, and I'm wondering whether this type of stuff, especially criticizing military leaders as they're gathered around you or serving up cabinet officials who you think have disappointed you, eventually people start thinking you don't have their back, so why should they have yours, right?
Well, I spent nearly 7 years in the White House, and I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to persuade Republicans to support a Republican president's agenda. And you need to keep your allies close, and particularly the allies that are prone to not be allies, you need to keep them even closer. And none of this helps over the long haul. Now, does it mean automatically when the president attacks Corker that Corker's never going to be with him? No. People go to Washington with beliefs and principles, and they try and do the right thing. But does it mean that in a close event that the president might not get support from somebody because he thinks either he's been critical of me or he's been critical of my colleagues or he won't necessarily have my back? Yeah, and this is particularly important in the Senate where you only have a 52-48 margin and where the opposition is energized and virulently opposed to the president.
I don't think the president has those sure votes. I think Corker, even prior with his concerns for deficits, whether you agree with that or not, static accounting versus dynamic accounting, we can get into that. I didn't think he was a guaranteed vote for tax cuts anyway. That might change, to your point. Rand Paul against this. I can't picture John McCain, given the history there, supporting it. I could be wrong. Susan Collins and some of these others, you could make a case that even if the president were to win over those three wayward Democrats, and right now Joe Manchin is on record as saying he doesn't like what he sees thus far, this is far from a slam dunk. What do you think?
Right. Well, first of all, let's count on the Democrats to not vote for this unless it's going to pass. No Democrat will vote for this and provide the deciding vote to put it over the top. If it's got 50 or 51 votes, then we might see a couple of Democrats come across and vote for it. But if it's at 49, there's not going to be one or two of them to kick it to 50 or 51. But here's the other thing. I still am optimistic about this because I think Republicans in the Senate have come to understand that it is an existential question for our party, and they've got to get it done. And look, Susan Collins may have problems on Obamacare, but she's for cutting taxes. Senator Corker may have concerns about the deficit, but he sat down, had a reasonable conversation with Pat Toomey, and the two of them came to an agreement. So I'm still optimistic about it, but I got to tell you, none of this helps. and in something where you're so close. And when we've seen Obama, the repeal and replacement of Obamacare go sideways twice with Senator McCain, who has previously voted consistently to do it. And you got to wonder if there's a personal issue there between he and the president. So none of this makes me feel better, but I'm still like that kid that Ronald Reagan described. There's a pile of something underneath the Christmas tree, and I think there's a pony buried in it somewhere.
Well, I hope you're right on that. But you mentioned Ronald Reagan. I'm thinking of your old boss, President Bush. I'm sure they would have their private moments where they talk to a senator, congressman, and try to let them know how they felt. There's some legendary tapes of JFK chewing out someone who had done something to embarrass his administration, but it was private. And I'm just wondering what difference it makes. Or maybe we're used to it, and maybe I'm the one being thin-skinned.
No. Look, I got to tell you, it's even more powerful when it's delivered privately.
Absolutely.
I saw President Bush deliver it, and because it allowed him to say, "You're my friend, I'm your friend, and you've disappointed me." And the power of the presidency is enormous. And if the president is having that conversation in the Oval Office, or calling from the Oval Office, or together in the personal quarters, it's enormously powerful. And I saw the president I served have to do that. And President Trump has the ability to do that. He's a schmoozer. This guy has done lots of deals. He knows how to maneuver in that private room. He's better doing that in private, in my opinion, than doing it in public, because it allows him to give people a chance to come back. It allows people to say, in the future, I'm going to find a way to work with you. It allows people to walk away saying, God, I hate it. I disappointed the president. You don't have that when you're picking up the morning newspaper and reading about the tweet, or looking at your phone and seeing that somebody's tweeted something about you. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, or not returning your phone calls, period. Exactly. Karl Rove, thank you very, very much.